Then what is the relationship between business intelligence and a data warehouse? As shown here, basically a data warehouse is the most common data architecture for business intelligence. Okay, in other words, if a company wants to engage in business intelligence, then they should probably start with their data warehouse. Okay. So what is a data warehouse? As shown here, a specific company-wide data pool to support decision making. Okay, so basically it's a common database that is used to support managers in all levels. Okay, as I mentioned earlier, that an OLAP system such as a data warehouse, basically, okay, includes users at all levels, okay, not just the top and middle levels, but users throughout the organization. And I do have a definition of a data warehouse given by Bill Inman, who is considered the father of data warehousing in the industry. Okay, so back in 1996, he mentioned in his book that a data warehouse is a subject-oriented, integrated, time-variant, and non-volatile collection of data in order to support management decisions. So in that definition, there are four important aspects or characteristics of a data warehouse. First, it is subject-oriented, which means that a data warehouse is organized into subjects. Okay, so data in a data warehouse is organized by subjects or by the views of different decision makers. Okay. So even though data is organized by different subject areas, they need to be integrated. Okay, so data has to be integrated in a data warehouse, and data can come from both internal as well as external sources. The third characteristic is that a data warehouse data has a time aspect, or it is a time-oriented. Okay, it has a time dimension. In other words, every piece of data has a associated time aspect. We know that when a particular cell takes place, so that we can keep historical data to make comparisons, make analysis over time and so on. Okay, which is very different from an OLTP system. Finally, a data warehouse is non-volatile. Okay, which means that the data there is basically not overwritten or deleted or updated. Okay, I mean it is updated, but it is not changed. Okay, by update we mean that data can be expanded or can be added to, but not changed in a data warehouse. So if a company decides to build a data warehouse for their business intelligence efforts, then what does it involve? Okay, as shown in this slide, a data warehouse, to build a data warehouse, you need to have some source systems. Okay, so basically both external data sources as well as internal data sources have to be identified and then used to import data into the data warehouse. Okay, and the feature that is used, or technology that is used to get data into a data warehouse, is known as ETL, which stands for extraction, transformation, and loading that you see at the bottom of the screen there. Okay, so that's another piece in a data warehouse, and that is to get data into the data warehouse for proper storage and administration. And after that, the data can be organized into multidimensional structures to facilitate multidimensional analysis that we talked about earlier. Okay, so that's the next piece in a data warehousing. And finally, multidimensional analysis, OLAP analysis, as well as other types of analysis, some of which we'll talk about in the future, are then performed on data in a data warehouse. So that's the final piece in data warehousing. Another way to look at data warehousing is to understand the general components or layers of a data warehouse. Notice that this is a conceptual model. Okay, so this is not a physical thing. It's not a physical data warehouse, but a conceptual model that helps a company to design a data warehouse. And this model, by the way, actually comes from SAP, which says that a data warehouse has 4 major components. The first component toward the bottom is a persistent staging area, which is where data is stored when it first comes into the data warehouse. Okay, so any data source, be it internal or external, the data when it is coming in first gets stored in the persistent staging area. And then when you look at the top, when we want to access the data warehouse for data analysis, then data can come from normally either through an operational data store or a data mart. Okay, so we'll take a look at those 4 components in the conceptual model in the next few slides.